And then I just realized, like, business coaches, so they focus kind of areas they know, but they don't tend to have a very complete view of the business. They're not looking at every aspect. I know business coaches that like never look at a company's numbers month to month. Like, how do you know what's going on? So that's kind of crazy to me. So why can't we teach people the best way to do things? Because it's not like there are thousands of ways, right? So it just struck me that someone needed to put together all the best practices in one place, so they aren't just random.
One, two, three, four.
Welcome to the Small Business Black Holes, the podcast that shines a light on the hidden challenges of scaling a business. Hosted by Pentz, each episode explores the critical shifts entrepreneurs make as they grow beyond $1 million, $5 million, even $30 million, and move from brute force to sustainable professional growth. Stay with us as we uncover what it really takes to escape the black holes of business and scale with intention.
All right, we are back for a solo Tanya Allen episode on small business black holes. So Tanya, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, you've been busy. First of all, it's been a while since we've talked, right? So what you've been busy doing. You've been learning a lot from building OwnerRx. So let's hear it. Let's talk about it. Fill us in.
Yeah, so I started this, I started the company back in January, and I was originally going to do some small business coaching. I've been doing that as a volunteer for a long time and thought, maybe I'll turn this into a little bit of a business on the side, that kind of thing. And of course, being an entrepreneur, I immediately started like a big company that I'm going to have to spend 10 years building. So, but basically what happened was I started trying to, I was building all cause I've been volunteer coaching for 6-7 years or something like that. So I started, like I'd been frustrated with a lot of the main planning on methodologies. Not that they're bad, like scaling up in EOS. They're fine, right? They're a good process for, um, they're a process for running your strategy, but they don't really tell you how to do anything, right? They tell you how to have a meeting, but they don't tell you like how to make your marketing better or how to hire better, or those kinds of things, right? So one, I felt that was a gap. And then I just realized like business coaches, like they weirdly focus on just, I guess it's not weird, it's what they know, right? So they focus kind of areas they know, but they don't tend to have a very complete view of the business. They're not looking at every aspect. So you talked before about, like I know business coaches that like never look at a company's numbers month to month. Like, how do you know what's going on? So that's kind of crazy to me. So then the other thing, so there's kind of like a methodological problem, like where I'd spent all these years in EO, YPO, going to different entrepreneurial education things and gathering all these techniques and tactics and best practices, and they don't really exist anywhere as a group. So I started thinking, hey, this is really the methodology I want. Like there are like 5 ways to do employee reviews, and like it's not rocket science, right? So like just pick one. Here are the 5 choices, pick one, right? And so it just struck me that the other thing is like most businesses, after you kind of take out a few nuances in marketing and like you get down to kind of the gross margin of the business, basically all businesses taste like chicken. It's all the same. So there aren't that many ways to do things. So why can't we teach people the best way to do things? Because it's not like there are thousands of ways, right? So it just struck me that someone needed to put together all the best practices in one place, so they aren't just random, just pick up this here and that there. Um, and the other factor in that is you find these things maybe not when you need them. So like you might be having a big marketing problem and then learn about some financial thing and you're trying to implement it in your business. And that's right. That's not the main focus you should be focused on, right? Um, so I felt that was a big problem. Then, so then I started thinking through coaching, and I mean, not to be, for it to be worth my time, it's it has to be, I have to charge a certain amount of money. And that just, and I really like working with smaller companies because they obviously they have earlier problems. And I've been through that and lived it so much that I know it cold, so I can be the most help there, I think. Um, and it's just really hard to charge enough to make it worthwhile. So then you got to start doing things like, oh, I'm going to put people into groups, and then, you got to schedule people, which is like my worst nightmare. So, trying to get five.
Then you need somebody to help you schedule things.
That's right. That's right. So trying to get five entrepreneurs to show up for a couple hours on a regular basis is like, is not a fun experience. So I started looking at that, and then I realized, coaching is like high friction. Like, people know they need something, but they don't wanna commit to something, and then it's like, it's just another relationship, and they're like, "Oh, man, I might need this for 3 to 6 months," but then at the end of it, it's gonna be hard to get out of because I have this relationship, and I just don't wanna start, and there's just, it's hard. So I just felt like, "Man, there's gotta be a better way to do this. This just doesn't, it feels like very difficult." Even though there's been a massive need, not almost, every business owner needs a coach. Yeah, I have a coach. Like, everyone should have a coach, right? Some people have boards, that's great, but other people need a coach. And, so I said, how can we democratize this? I mean, use a buzzword, but how do we get this out to people and make it easier? Um, so I really started looking at, and then at the same time, I'd been using ChatGPT a lot. Particularly, I just did a webinar on this, which we'll have up on the YouTube channel soon, uh, talking through how I was using ChatGPT day to day, and what really broke it was the new Pro version has O3 model, and I was like, this thing's smarter than I am, right? And I started working in it all day long, every day. I started feeling like working in other apps was a waste of time. It really just accelerated, and it made me like 10 to 100 times more productive. Like, I was able to go, like, when I'm looking at my coaching stuff, I'm like, okay, under your team or people, there are a series of processes that need to be done. You need to recruit, hire, onboard, performance manage, and train, and then potentially manage out, right? So each one of those is a process where you can do different techniques. So I was able to start in O3 doing these deep research reports, and also Google Gemini is probably just as good or better now. Claude just came out with a new version, so I don't know. I haven't used that yet this week, but who knows what the best one is this week.
You've been using the new version.
Yeah. So I was able to run these deep research reports and get like all the modern techniques for each one of these processes. And then I'm able to add my flavor on it, like what I've learned from working with businesses, and combine it into a process and a set of tactics that I can then easily share. And then I can take all that, like a 30-page report on best practices in onboarding, put in the stuff that I know, and then go in and say, okay, I need to boil this down so that it's digestible in an hour to a small business owner who's busy. And it doesn't, right? So all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, like, I could build this whole thing out using AI. Now, you do need to know how to prompt it well. I need the knowledge that I've had over the years to add nuance to it, and to say, oh, I kind of want to focus on this area, not that area. Even to know what to go ask it to do is important. So I don't think it's like you can just go into ChatGPT and do it, and that's fine. But I do think it allows me, who's focusing on this all day, get to be like 100 times more productive. So there's no, so essentially what I started thinking was like, why can't I turn this into an application that can serve everybody for $50 a month or $100 a month or whatever it's going to be? So I never would have done that. I could have done 85% of that with the tech before AI, but it would have been a lot longer to do. It would have taken forever. I probably wouldn't have done it. It would have been a year of like researching, or 6 months at least, hiring researchers and getting all the best practices. I eliminated that entire stuff, or didn't eliminate it, I automated it and did it, and I could do it in a few hours rather than months. So that just really accelerated it, and then the other breakthrough I had was that as I started using a lot of AI programs, particularly, like, I started building these GPTs, which are like sort of fixed prompts that get saved in OpenAI, and you can have when you go into it, you enter some information and it activates those prompts. So it'll pretty much go through the exact same set of prompts every time, and that's a GPT, and it'll do something. Like, for instance, I have one that every time I have a coaching call, it rates me on how well I'm doing as a coach, or a sales call. It'll rate me against the best practices in sales, how I'm doing, and scripts that I've developed, right? So that's like a GPT. It performs like a little function for you. And as I started using a bunch of those, you can see if you saw my chat GPT, they're like 30 of those things now. I add a couple every week, and they're kind of a mess, right? So like I could give you access to all my GPTs to do, a bunch of stuff in your business that I've sat there and thought about it. I've done the best practices research. I've added my nuance. So like, yeah, you could duplicate what I'm doing over time. But like, if you can get access to all that stuff for cheap, why would you bother, right? It's already done for you. So
Well, and what I think is you started OwnerRx in January, was it? Did you imagine or envision what was that just 4 months ago, 5 months ago that you would be already where you are using AI? You knew a lot about AI in January, but my sense is that you didn't have an idea about how big the scope was, about how this was going to go.
I don't think I could have done it in January, because the models really came out. The newest models came out in like March and April. And that's when I mean, it was more possible in January than it had been in November, right? This is how fast this is moving. And like I said, I could have hired researchers, I could have gone and done all this stuff. But by April, I started realizing, oh my gosh, like this thing can do all of it. Yeah. And I started realizing I could scale this a lot faster, right? Um, but what I realized also was there's so much capability, and I built all these GPTs, right? I could just give them to you. But the problem is they're overwhelming, and there's just too many things, right? There's too many things you can do. So like, what is an owner? Where do they start? And that's really got me thinking about, and I just got a notification from Duolingo to take my French for the day. And basically what I came down to is I was like, hey, why don't I use like some of the most up-to-date ways that we're teaching and learning and working today have been pioneered by these apps. If you look at Duolingo, or like the weight loss app Noom, and there are others now where they kind of look at this big complex process, like learning a language. How much more complex does it get? I mean, you speak 5 of them, right? Yeah, pretty tough, except unless you're Tanya and you just pick them up like this. Yeah. Uh, but what they do is they take an incredibly complex topic and they break it down into bite-sized pieces that you can do in 10
Actionables, yeah, ones that you can actually be successful at.
day to day, right? So my thought was, why don't I take all this knowledge I have, all the power of AI to do this research, to build out like the ways to make your business better, and then package it under sort of like a Duolingo Noom like kind of user interface like methodology, where it's like, hey, well, and then the other piece is like, so what we're going to do basically is say, we assess your business across 6 key dimensions. And then we look at where you're scoring lowest and say, hey, we've done all the research and built all this AI stuff that can help you change that in your business. And so let's start right there. And what we're going to do is break it down into a 3 to 5 day journey playbook that you can do, pieces of each day. And then after 5 days, you've kind of like made that area stronger, and you're going to do, to some extent, you're spending 5 days planning out what you're gonna do, and then you gotta go implement it. And so what we're doing is building that, building in the playbook to do, say it's, working on my team, how I'm onboarding people or how I manage my leadership team for 5 days. And then you've got a plan to move forward. And then we're kind of in there day to day saying, hey, this is what you committed, giving strategic clarity and prioritization for the owner. So saying, hey, today your top 3 priorities you said were these. You were going to work on, your team strategy and a couple of other things. Um, is that still the priorities? If not, why not? What's getting in the way? So we're there day to day, kind of checking in we are a strategic coach, right?
So it's an element of coaching right there every day.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have weekly, like, "Hey, what did you get done over the week? What do help plan your next week?" Then with the AI too, we can also make suggestions on if things are getting in the way, how to solve them, how to reprioritize. We can also track what the issues are over time. So, hey, if it's always some finance problem or sales problem that's always getting in your way, maybe we need to go and do the finance or sales journeys, right, to fix that problem. So we kind of become your digital strategic coach that's always there with you. I'm even building in a functionality like when the stuff hits the fan and you're in fire drill mode, we're going to have a mode you push and it just takes you into the AI that can help you problem solve real quick. It's like, hey, I don't have time for those priorities because top customer is leaving. And like, all right, let's brainstorm how we could deal with this.
I just wanted to mention, like you talked about this building this around, it's an AI native app, right? Which is unique, which is new, I should say, because we haven't seen that yet, and that's one of its biggest strengths. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So what I notice is, apps that have already existed, right? I've had trouble building AI in because it's not, AI native's a buzzword for built with AI in mind, right from the ground up. And so what you'll get is that little set of stars in the corner of an app that you push and it's supposed to do something, and half the time it's useless, right? So it's kind of killing people's AI experience. But that's because like they're just slapping it on because they want to tell their investors or Wall Street or whoever that, hey, we're relevant, we're in AI because we have this feature. But the real problem is it's not built in. So we're designing in the era of AI, we have the advantage of starting from there. So at each stage throughout the app, like we're identifying every way an AI could be of assistance, and make the experience better. So that it is a real advantage for us versus others because they're gonna have to like retrofit. And once you retrofitting, you're potentially pissing off your existing user base, you're creating problems in the technology, and we're gonna be able to avoid that from building from the ground up. Um, yeah, it's real. I mean, the stuff. So like what I'm doing right now, and if people are interested, like go to the newsletter. It's still called Owner Institute. So we're transitioning the name in a couple of weeks. So Owner Institute is my overall company. Owner RX is the product and probably will be the company at some point. But at ownerinstitute.beehive.com is our newsletter. I'm kind of going through, first I'm going to go through this kind of stuff, talk about what am I learning from building OwnerRx and coaching. And then I'm releasing some of these GPTs each week that show you, I mean, they're limited in what they can do. I mean, they're not full programs, but they show you a taste of what AI can do, and it show you a little taste of what it'll be like in the app. And like last week, I put out my secret AI strategy weapon, where I created this thing called the Board of Titans, and it's 6 business owners and each take a persona that of that business owner and kind of like 1 or 2 perspectives they usually bring to things. So like I have Jeff Bezos on customer obsession and day one thinking, and I have Elon Musk comes in and does like first principles thinking, and I have Warren Buffett on moats and defensibility, and I have um Frank Slootman, who a lot of people don't know, but he's pretty awesome. Wrote a book called Amp It Up on execution and just making sure you execute. So like each one of them kind of takes this perspective, and you put in a strategic idea, and bam, six people feed in on it and tell you what they think. And it's like a lot. It has it so it's like, hey, board's in session. Here's what the board's telling you. So it's cool.
I can attest, like, it's really neat how you showed exactly what they came up with, and it's not just some fluffy, "Oh," I mean, it was, like, actually helpful, right? To see a problem through the lens of their thinking.
Yeah. And I did one on, like, sales calls. So, like, some of the sales calls I made for coaching, I put in script. Now that I wouldn't release because it's my script, but I'm gonna do one with general sales principles, so I run those deep research reports and kinda put in my take and synthesize it down for you. And basically, it grades me and, like, man, it's harsh. I got out of 5, it gives it breaks it down into categories, and, like, on closing or something, I was, like, 2.5 out of 5. It, like, killed me. It gave me an F. So,
Has it helped you do better?
oh, yeah. I mean, I know exactly what my problem is. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really good. So, it's, like, rapport and surfacing the issues for customers and helping them think through the issues as a coach, right? I'm really good at that. It gives me like 4.5 out of 5. But then on being like, hey, you got to close the deal, I'm really low. And it's just a weakness of mine. So I probably shouldn't be your salesperson, right? Um, or I could do very consultative sales processes. That's what's good for me. But quick 15, 30-minute conversations, so probably somebody else is a little better. So anyway, so it's great. So I do better on it now, but I also know it's my weakness. So I probably need to get somebody else eventually who can do that part for me. Um, so anyway, I mean, it's been fascinating. I think the tool is going to be, I'm recruiting my alpha testers right now, so that we hope to have alpha in 4 weeks. And so then, we're hoping to get into beta, with a much larger group in by August, something like that. And so I'm building a wait list right now. So if you're up for it, go to the ownerinstitute.com website, and you can sign up for the OwnerRx wait list. Um, and there'll be a big button there for you to just click on it, and you can just sign up the wait list. And then as soon as we're in beta, um, we'll release it to you, and you get some time to test it before, and we'll probably, have a trial period for everybody when we're in beta, and then, eventually we'll start charging for it. But, and the other cool feature I think we're going to build in, this is still tentative, is, I still kind of felt like we needed some human coaching. Um, but again, there's a huge cost issue, right? So you go from 50 to $100 to, several hundred to 1,000, over 1,000, right? When you're getting like fixed time with coaches and stuff. So that's really different kind of level. So what I thought is kind of take a Noom's approach, where they have a coach for a cohort of people coming in, but like the coach is doing asynchronous chat in the app. So you have a problem or something like that, you can text the coach or the group you're with, if we choose to do it through cohorts. And then, also the coach will text out things like kind of reinforcing some of the messages coming from the notification part of the app and the AI. So we're experimenting with that. It's like, can we, it might cost a little more to have that, but, we can have like an actual person, experienced coach who can serve a lot more people through texting than having like fixed 1 hour sessions.
Right, and some clients might want that and need that, and others won't, and can go both ways.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be testing and see what creates more adoption and what keeps people going more. I'm a little encouraged by Duolingo. They don't do that really. They're now moving to, now the one thing with Duolingo is they're teaching you a language. So it's a little, if they screw up they're building AI bots that you can chat with and practice your French with, like me. And, but if you screw up the phrasing of something in French, like no one's going to be suing you. But in a small business context, like if it's a financial thing or something, you don't want necessarily an AI that might screw up something. So there might still be a need for that human coaching, and verification, in the app. So that's something we're looking at right now too. Yeah, so that's OwnerRx. Super exciting. I think it's going to be awesome. It's the kind of thing like, man, if I had had it, I would have grown so much faster, so much earlier. Wouldn't have wasted years of my life. No, I didn't waste years of my life, but I could have accelerated my learning.
Yeah. I mean, it's really exciting, right? It's like it's a holistic approach is what I think of. You bring this holistic approach where you've got everything all distilled in your app that's accessible to more people, a lot of people.
That's the goal. The goal is to just say like, hey, there's a lot of core stuff in business that owners, well, I think it's two things. One is the education. Like there's just this core stuff that owners should know. It's hard to find that information. They don't really teach it in a course format anywhere. People don't love courses anyway. So like we're able to take all those best practices and break them down for you so it's easy. Right. And then the second thing is having this accountability, day to day prioritization, ability to text with a coach, like that's going to help a lot of owners keep on task. Cause like often we'll start implementing some stuff and then something blows up, we get distracted. Oh, we want to chase this other shiny thing. And often it just takes someone to be like, hey, you committed to this. Why are you doing this other thing? And then you're like, oh, okay, I should go back and do that. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of keeping business owners on track in a practical, accessible way on a
Yeah,
daily basis. I mean,
that's it. That's the game.
yeah.
You've been listening to the Small Business Black Holes podcast with Alan Pentz. For more insights on mastering the new game, follow @Pentz, that's APENTZ on X, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, in today's world, you don't follow the rules, you write them.